Hey everybody, welcome to Sew with Joe. Today we're starting a new project. I've been thinking about this for a while and I am going to start making a blanket. And the way that I'm going to make this blanket is that I'm going to make it out of heavier material as a backing, and then I'm going to take all of my old t-shirts and stuff that I don't want to throw out but I don't really wear anymore. I'm going to sew those onto the heavier material backing. One thing I don't want is I don't want seams, so I'm going to cut out all the seams and then re-sew everything back together. Pardon me. Just need to move my notes. Alright, time to start doing some cutting. Take out whatever good panels we can get out of these. I'm not going to worry about keeping the lines straight and everything. I'm just going to sew stuff together kind of as it happens. These are another pair of jeans that I've had for about 20 years, but I've decided to not continue on with them. Just one of those executive decisions once in a while you got to make. Can't keep up with 5 pairs, so we're going to cut her down to 3. Would be a good way to hang on to some old patches too, my old beat the system patch. So this is going to be a fairly major undertaking, and it's going to be the project that I work on in between other stuff. So this won't be a start to finish like I did with getting my other jeans going with the 19 hours that I put into those. Take off all the worn material. The bottom of the jeans are pretty worn, I don't really want to use those. And this is going to let me use up a lot of material too. I've got a ton of sewing material, and been wanting to use it up for a while. So I'm going to cut a few panels out of here, start sewing them together. Nice big piece that'll get out of the back here. Be a good place to start. Just wanted to get rid of the big seams, and I know that I'll be sewing seams into it, but at least they won't be the big bulky multi-layer seams that we have here. And for this project I wanted to do this because I had a pile of t-shirts that I called my retired t-shirts. Stuff that I just didn't wear anymore because they were, you know, special events or memories or whatever. And I thought to myself, well, instead of just letting them sit in your closet or in storage or whatever, why don't you actually do something with them? And that something is going to be a blanket. Seam, get rid of that. The other seam, get rid of that. And all I'm going to do is overlap them. Sew them. We have outside to outside. So this edge, we flip it open, and it'll be denim. Denim! Good old denim. I will be getting to some positive world news. I just wanted to get this kind of set up here. Do some pinning. So good, some good world news for all you fans of mushrooms out there. Of all kinds. There is a group called the Society for the Protection of Underground Networks. And what they are doing is they are mapping out mushrooms. Mushroom mappers. Almost sounds like an insult. Yeah, yeah, bunch of mushroom mappers. But this is valuable, and if you haven't figured out why or how, we'll get there. So, what they're doing is they're taking 10,000 samples of mushrooms from around the world, and they are mapping out the mushroom networks, the underground mushroom networks. Because if you didn't know this, and I didn't know this, mushrooms are actually a massive underground network, and what we see sticking out of the ground is just the tip of the iceberg, as they say. Alright, got her pinned. Start sewing it in the middle. So, what these massive mushroom networks do is they help to consume carbon from the environment, which is a big thing these days. What was the number on it? It says billions of tons of carbon per annum are consumed by mushroom networks. It'd be an interesting television channel instead of the Cartoon Network, the Mushroom Network. Today, we get to watch this mushroom grow all day. We're expecting an exciting millimeter of growth today, so stay tuned. I don't think they could get Sir David Attenborough to do that one. Threading the needle is tough this morning. Eyes are not great. Try getting a new end, see if that helps. There we go. Not the cleanest cut. What was the problem there? So these massive mushroom networks, they transmit water, nutrients, and they say information. Apparently the mushrooms can convey information to other plants about diseases and things in other areas. I don't know. They also form symbiotic relationships with vegetation around them. Like they'll to get energy, they'll consume sugars from like trees or something like that, and in return they'll give them something that the trees need in return, so some sort of a mineral or whatnot, and it's the exchange of nutrients. Mushrooms are a lot more important than we think. And with this team, teams consisting of scientists from Canada and Holland and the UK, France, Germany, and the United States. Scientists from all those countries are coming together to study the trillions of miles of mushroom networks. That's right, trillions of miles. Those are big numbers. Trillions of miles, billions of tons of carbon consumed per year. So something that major is very important to understand. And if they can keep these mushroom networks healthy or help the ones that are damaged and recovering, and you could see some major benefits to the planet from the mapping of mushrooms. And all those that we called mushroom mappers at one time, they'll now be legends. Much like the nerf herders back in the day. A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Using the classic blanket stitch, and this time actually for a blanket. It's usually what I use for everything. Ew. Thank you. That was my wife Sarah with the morning coffee and cookie. Speaking of coffee, cheers. If we can all learn to appreciate mushrooms a little more, the world could be a better place. Crazy mushroom mappers. Some interesting world news. People have actually been studying flow in humans. And if you're not familiar with the term flow, it's basically when you're doing something that is difficult, but that you're very good at. And you're really into it. You're really enjoying it. And that's called flow. And the examples they gave were when you're playing video games. You know, you're in a tough level, you're in the zone kind of thing, is kind of like finding your flow. It's kind of like being in the zone. They also said for like runners, long distance runners, when you found your pace and everything's just going right and everything feels good and easy and you're just moving, that's running flow. Fly here, so I'm going to try using my fly swatter for a second. Pardon me. I think I might have got him. Neat. Don't hear him or see him anymore. Might have actually gotten him. If I did, that's I think a first. I don't get them first shot very often. But Nerf guns as fly swatters, if you don't have one, you're missing out. It turns flies from being a massive nuisance into a game. So, yeah. It's a lot of fun. Oh, there he is. Still around. See if I can get a clean shot at him again. Sorry for the interruption there. Yeah, finding your flow, and the two examples I like to think of are Olympic athletes and skateboarders. When Olympic athletes are competing in their event and everything is just going perfectly, you know, it's something that they've done thousands of times before, and their body just does it. Their mind, they only use the parts and pieces of their mind that they need to, and they find their flow, and it's efficient. And for skateboarders, you get into a flow going around a skate park and just hitting a trick after a trick after a trick after a trick, and it's just everything's working, everything's, like they say, firing on all cylinders, and you watch some of the videos and it just looks completely effortless. And it's just this culmination of skill that's been developed over the years. Take another shot at that flat mark. Left-handed. Oh, right beside him. Right here and put ammo. Dag nabbit. Concern it. Doggone it. Shuckers. Shucky yarns. One more. Oh, there he is. Okay, sorry, I digress. Hope you can forgive me for that. I just try to keep the flies down for the sound quality. So my apologies if you do notice a fly buzzing in the background. So when you find your flow, and they've been studying this, like I say, when you're in those moments, your brain is actually doing less work, because it's only firing into the places that it absolutely needs to. And your body isn't working as hard either, because it's just all happening naturally. There's no extra movement. It's just everything is happening perfectly. You're in that flow, and it feels like it's not as difficult, because it isn't. When you find that perfect place, things are easier. So if you can find your flow in whatever you're doing, it will be easier. And the most important part, well, not maybe the most important, a big important part is finding a balance between your skill level and the challenge level. Because if it's too easy, you get bored, and then your brain starts going all over the place and wanders, and then your brain's using more energy, and you're not focused, so you're not going to do it as well. And if it's too difficult, you're just going to get frustrated and give up, and then everything is more difficult. So to be your most efficient, you want to be constantly challenging yourself at your highest level, but not at such a high level that you are failing constantly. You want to be able to succeed, progress, and not fall on your face every single time. The one example that I think of when I think of this is the movie Forrest Gump. Cheers. When Forrest Gump is playing ping pong, and he's doing his demos and stuff where he has two ping pong balls going at the same time, playing against himself, kind of thing. That's in the flow. His mind didn't consume much for energy, so he had to be at that place all the time. And that to me is just the ultimate flow, when you can be just so focused on something and so into it. Another thing that they say is associated with flow is not being distracted. So the researchers would get people to play a video game, and in the corner of the video game would pop up a red dot every once in a while, and people needed to respond to that red dot as soon as possible, as soon as they could. And when people were in the flow, in their zone, it took them longer to respond to that red dot, because people are more focused on what's happening when they're in that flow. That's one thing we always say when you're skating, man. You just got to find that flow, you know. Find it where it just feels just right, where everything just is working exactly as it should, and life is good. And my mom actually contacted me yesterday, and she's like, "I've got a bunch of denim jean legs if you need any." And I'm like, "Mom, I've got so much stitch material. I'm actually going to be making a blanket out of it to just use it up." She's like, "Oh, okay. I'll send these to the thrift store then. Thank you." I've got, I love it that my parents think of me, and that sort of thing. They're always very supportive. And I'm glad that I'm learning to say no sometimes, because sometimes when you already have too much of something and someone offers to give you more, it's detrimental to say yes, I think. Because if you already have too much, the words too much imply that it's not good, that it's an excess. And yeah, you don't want to always be living in excess. So even though you may think it's what you need, it's probably just because you have the devil inside. If you're living with in excess, I mean, with in excess, the band. What? Okay. I hope somebody got that and it was funny to somebody. It's the problem with inside jokes when you're the only one that knows the inside joke. You just end up chuckling silently to yourself in the corner. Sounds like my life. You need to do an abbreviation, CQTM. Chuckles quietly to myself. And the one thing that they found with flow is that it helps cancel out depression. Actually improves your mood. And I can see that because if you're doing something difficult and you're doing it well, and you're not distracted, and that's all you're focused on, then I can absolutely see that would lift your mood. It's like same thing when you're playing video games, or if I'm playing Pokemon online, and the hand is going well and everything's, you know, you're getting all your cards and the other guy's doing what you expect him to, and you're flowing through it. It just, you know, everything feels a lot better. Look out though when things go wrong. I think that's one thing where video games get you, is you get into that flow, and then all of a sudden something happens that just jars you out of that flow, and you're like, I have to flow through this, you know, I have to destroy this area, I have to take out this boss, whatever the case may be. Cheers. You know, I've never made a blanket before, so this is going to be a trial and error, comedy of errors. A trial and error, comedy of errors. I like that better. Oh man, my voice is just getting in my throat today. All right. So yeah, if you have any hints on blanket making, if you already see that I'm doing something wrong, let me know. I know my edge isn't exactly straight, so it won't be a completely flat blanket. I'm not looking for perfection here. I just want to make something for myself. And yeah, I think this will be just fine no matter how it turns out. And I can always take pieces out and redo them if I need to, because it is a possibility, and it's not that important. You know, I was just gonna say I don't have any differentiation between like a perfectly made showpiece blanket and something that's just hacked together like this, but I think I like this better, um, because you can use these and not worry about getting a stain on them or tearing them or something. You just use them and they're comfortable because you don't have to think about that. And the less of your brain that you think about, or the less of your brain that you use at a time, uh, the more efficient you are, not using as much energy, maybe even happier. Ignorance is bliss, I guess. It might fit that. Just waiting for the day that I sew into my own jeans while I'm doing this. Sew my work piece to myself. So we talked about mapping mushrooms, and we talked about finding your flow. And there would be people that would talk about finding your flow on mushrooms. I don't know if you're that type of person. That's one thing they say, magic mushrooms are actually being studied for treatment of depression and anxiety and stuff, and there's been some very positive outcomes there. So that's really interesting. You know, something that used as a drug for a long time, like a recreational drug, could be used for treating depression and such. I could see another place where people would find their flow a lot is racers, race car drivers, motorcycle racing, that sort of thing. Because you're flowing around that track, and if you're doing it perfectly, it feels amazing. If you're fighting through it, then it doesn't feel nearly as good. A buddy of ours was out from Germany, and we went to the go-kart track, and talk about flow. That guy just flew around that track. Would that be the multiple of flow? Flew? Instead of saying he flowed, he flew. That he flew. Flying low. He definitely flew around that track, and I think he got fastest time of the week or something like that. Yeah, just he's fast. I'd never done go-karts before, so I was very slow. Got lapped many times, and that's okay. I was having fun, and I was being careful, and I was letting guys go by. Only one guy had to bump me to say, "Hey, get out of my way." I always thought racing would be interesting. Okay, so we got one piece of our blanket started. A couple of pieces of denim leg. We're going to pull the pin on this one. all the pins, I guess. And I think for the flow, even, you know, you see these videos of amazing workers doing their jobs, you know, perfectly and whatever. And those guys are flowing. Because even if the job that they're doing might not be all that difficult, the speed and precision which they do it with can put you in that flow. So there we go. Our first seam, first parts of the new blanket I'm making. Like I say, this won't be an every episode thing. This will be as I feel like it type of thing. And I want to do the denim backing so that when I put the shirts on here, it has a good base, and I can just sew whatever emblem on there and then take the next one and overlap it, and then I've got a good backing, good basis for that. So there's the beginning of the blanket. We have this much red thread. Let's see what we use. But yeah, thanks a lot for joining me. I do really appreciate this time. I like my sewing. And we're just going to do chunks at a time. Not going to worry about keeping stuff straight or whatever. Just keep adding on. Cool. I like it. Beat the system. Beat. Cheers, everybody. So, till next time, keep chilling. Got a busy day ahead of me, and I think that's why my voice is kind of up in my throat. Thanks a lot. Till next time, keep chilling. Don't forget your cookie. Peace.